What's up, everybody? A Spare with a Gun here from Sleepless Nights with another episode on Space Engineers. We are back in the Reac room, or Reactor room, or whatever. And I will admit, I'm having a bit of trouble painting this ship. For those of you that may not be aware, most of you probably are, we had changed our color to kind of like this, so it would look a little better with the DX11, since the DX11 version seems to have lightened up our gray a lot more. But I've done it a couple of times now where, like, I try and paint this room. I actually did it just before I started recording this episode, and I tried to paint this room, and it literally hung my whole computer up. Like, it wasn't even just Space Engineers that said it wasn't responding and crashed. I mean, like, my entire system just stopped. And so I'm not really sure how to repaint this, to be honest, other than maybe using like SE Toolbox or something, and finding these colors that are different colors and seeing if I can repaint them that way or something. But otherwise, I'm thinking I might have to like paint save, paint save, paint save, paint save, something like that if this won't work. I don't know. So anyways, in the last episode we did this with our reactor. Now this is both good and bad, and the reason is a couple of different things. The first being, I did not notice, it was actually brought up to me in the comments, that the azimuth reactors only have one port for things like their uranium and all that kind of stuff. So you have this port, but if you flip the reactor, it doesn't actually have another port, which I thought it did. So, in that regard, what I've got here, this second reactor will never get any fuel. That's not good. On the plus side, you guys haven't seen it yet because this episode is going to go up before the Inspiration episode, as always, but in the next Inspiration episode, there's a reactor setup that's really, really, really cool, and I'm gonna try and... yeah, I hesitate to use the word replicate, but use it as, well, a form of inspiration, because I am going to change a few things, but ultimately it'll still look like this, because that's how that reactor is designed. But it's designed for both of these to spin in opposite directions and have rotors on both sides, which was really, really cool idea. And I really liked it. But in their build, in the inspiration episode that's coming up tomorrow, it has more room. It's a taller structure. I think it had 9 blocks between the floor and the ceiling, or including the floor. So we have 8. It had 9. And then we're on kind of a 1-to-1 level here where when you go past this, it goes right into the hull blocks, which they had more room up there. I think there was a grand total of like 12 blocks between the pistons to the pistons that would allow it to expand and retract and stuff, so they had a little more room to work with, which got me thinking. I am going to get rid of these for now, because I don't like them there. And this is just bugging me. Oh yeah, one other thing is, this may take... I might mess up my controls a lot. They did change the controls to now control is your hotkey switching button, which may take me a minute to get used to. That was bothering me. So, I don't even know if I actually have enough room to do it vertically here. I would have to just put like another rotor with another conveyor block or something like that if I wanted this to stay. So what I may do... is this space? Oh geez, it is. Okay, we gotta be careful here. There's a method to my madness, fear not. I think. Let's see. So what I'm wondering, I don't know if this will work or not, but we're gonna... oh yeah, that's smart. Nowhere near enough room for me to get in here, but, you know. Come on. Okay, that's better. So, what I am going to attempt to do here is bring this out. We're gonna do like this, and now let's just test and see if I can put a rotor here or not. I might have to change the displacement angle or something, whatever they call that. There's a way to do it. Control panel. Rotor. I don't know which is which. But I think there's... I don't know if rotor displacement allows to move the rotor up or down to solve various alignment issues. So let's just take this down by like 1. I don't actually know which rotor I'm moving, but it should kind of work anyway. In theory. Maybe not. I think we were working on this one. I don't have an antenna, so I don't think this will make a difference. No, not really. But, in theory, wouldn't this have to be... Oh, wait, no, they both say 2. No luck there. Okay, well, then let's just crank... Oh, there it is. So we're working on the top one right now. So let's go 1 cm. Not really sure if that's supposed to be centimeter or not. Okay, it's still not letting us have enough room, but we may be able to do the same thing here. Come on. There we go. Dang, how much room do I need? Alright, how about... Let's go really far. And then we'll try and bring it back in from there. See if that'll work. There we go. So technically this would work. We could do this, and it would be perfectly fine. So we're going to leave it like this as kind of a pseudo backup plan, I guess. Good. So that would work. We could probably bring this back, I don't know, like another centimeter or something if we wanted them really close together and not have any effect on breaking each other, but for now, that's a functional system. Now what I want to try and do is do a horizontal one. Now this kind of stinks because it won't let me do... Wrong button. Won't let me do this centered because of how we have the thing set up. However, may or may not be an issue. And truth be told, there's only one reason I would change this, and I'm kind of leaving this up to you guys as to what you would prefer. Should we leave it like this and then just enclose the space and be done with it? Just for my own peace of mind, let's go ahead and connect this up if we can find it. Where'd it go? Oh, there you are. Okay. Oh, no, that's interesting. Wait, no. I was thinking... Oh, well, whatever. This won't really matter all that much, but I do think I'm gonna bring it out and then up, rather than have it be in the wall. But all that's relative. I mean, that's a quick fix. We could change that very easily later, so I'm not too worried about it. If we decide we don't like that, it's no biggie. But in the inspiration episode that is going up tomorrow, you'll see what I'm referring to, but basically, the short version is they had it set up in the build where, and we could have actually cut in from this one too, I guess. We didn't have to go that way, but this is still... Yeah, that's still visible wall. I only did one thick wall, so it'll usually show. Anyways, what they did was, instead of just being on rotors, they were on pistons, which had a adjusted... I don't know how long it took them to adjust it, but they had an adjusted piston extension type thing. And basically what would happen was, while the reactor was running, the two rotors would spin. in opposite directions. So this one would be going this way, this one would be going this way, and it had a cool effect. But if you shut them down, they would stop spinning, but they'd pull away from each other due to the pistons. And I thought that was a pretty cool effect, but we have to decide based on our build here, do we want it symmetrical and in the center, which we have right now, and it's still able to spin and we have both connected? Or do we want it horizontal and being able to pull away from each other? That being said, I don't actually know if it would really be that necessary to do. So I may not show it. I might show it off in the inspiration episode and let you know, or let you guys decide from there what you would rather see. I think for now we're going to stick with this one, mainly because I didn't know before when I started messing around with this that this would be off-center if we did it this way. So there's that. It would also cut into your walkway space, because we'd probably have to do something at least out to here to shield it. And so you would literally like walk in and have hardly any room to move. This way gives us a little bit more room. So for now we're going to keep it this way, I think. And if you guys see the inspiration episode tomorrow and really like the idea of the pistons moving and don't mind it being like off-center and horizontal, then we might re-evaluate or revisit that later. Now we come to batteries. Now I was trying to make this room feel a bit more lively, I guess. Used, lived in, whatever you want to call it, filled in. So I was putting the batteries like over here, but I've seen a lot of builds recently that have been doing like, if this is your reactor, then you have the batteries in the wall and you got these detailed grates and screens and tubes and stuff all connecting them. So it may not be a bad idea to do that. And with that in mind, we're going to try it. Now, these we went over last episode are not flush with the wall or symmetrical to the wall. But I do think, I don't know, somebody brought up the point of if we took the angle blocks out, could you put two on top of each other and essentially have them be then even? So let's experiment with that and see what we come up with. Did not mean to break that corner block. Okay, so that is in fact the case with these. You can do these like this, and they're equal. And if we set them up in this fashion, they're actually in symmetry with the reactors as well. Now this is interesting. Why are you both red? That's weird. Huh. We're in creative mode, so I would have thought they would have just... Oh, they're in recharge state, that's why. Okay. I was like, why are you wrong? Okay, so we're gonna replace that now. In terms... we could put just corner blocks here and be done. Ooh, this would be an interesting look, too. Let me know what you guys think about this. I don't like that corner, I don't think. But I was thinking something to the effect of this could be an interesting shape. But it would also have to be on this side. So let's practice over here where we can see it a little better and see how it flows into the rest of the design. So that's not bad, but I don't... Well, we could do something like this now and encase them. That's not a bad idea, I guess. Let's do my patented try and true one side one way, one side another. And we'll see how that works for everybody. So we'll do that side like this. I don't know, it covers up a lot of the block. I don't actually know if I like that or not. And then over here, we're just going to... Oops, see, that's one too many blocks. Over here, what I'm going to do is cut out 3 But we're just going to leave these angles and see how they look when you just place them in the midst of the angles and stuff. Ah, crap. I'm stuck. Dang it. Alright, let's get out of here. So I don't know, I think this probably looks a bit more computery, like it's a mainframe wall or something. This doesn't look quite as weird, to be honest. So let me know what you guys think about that. And actually give me a quick second. I'm gonna, the paint's throwing me off. I'm gonna try and repaint these, just this section right here, and save it, and hopefully nothing crashes. Alright, so admittedly I'm definitely liking that color scheme a lot better. I honestly just don't know how to paint it without everything crashing. Unless I just do it like this every episode, I'll just paint like half of a hallway. And then just move on and be like, okay, that one's done. Now, where I think that would be, let me know what you guys think, but I think that would be enough in terms of batteries and reactors and stuff to power the ship fairly well. These batteries can put out 12.9, basically 13 megawatts, and they can store 3.3 megawatt hours, roughly, each one, so they have a pretty good storage. And then the fusion reactors can do 60, almost. So, I mean, between the two of them, they should be fine, in theory. Actually, one thing I'm wondering about is solar panels. I mean, you all know, and don't worry, we're coming back to this in a second, I just wanted to kind of look on the outside of the ship for a second. We all know how much of an avid fan I am of renewable energy sources, where you never have to, like, oh, I'm almost out of uranium, you know. But, that being said, we have this set up for air, which is the oxygen farms. We haven't really done anything with solar, though. And I've seen a couple interesting ideas in terms of, rather than just doing a, I hope this doesn't crash anything, but I'm doing this just for examples, not really for, I'm not going to release the button, but instead of just a flat hull like this, right? Where it's just straight block. I've seen a lot of builds where they'll put details on the ship, like little bubbles and things to make it look interesting, and I've thought about doing some kind of ramp or using a hangar block build mod, like something built on the hangar block design, hangar door, stuff like that. A thin retractable panel or something, maybe even those Death Star glass panels, something that can retract into a block, and basically doing like solar panels all over the ship, and then they can just retract when you need power or something of that nature, or on the bottom maybe. You can roll the ship over like this and get charged. I don't know. I haven't really come up with a good solution for that, to be quite honest. We did a really cool thing here with our oxygen farms, but I need to come up with a solution for solar panels as well, so I'm open to suggestions there. The other thing is, I think in the reactor room here, we have a decision to make, because this is probably all the power we're going to need. But it's still very empty. We kind of did it all over in one corner. So we have a couple different options we can do. We can put a shield generator system over here that's connected to these systems. I don't know what the shield generators need, or if they need anything, or if it's just power. And we could even set up a shield generator system over here with its own reactor or something, because I've heard they use a ton of power. I don't know exactly how much power they use, but I know they use a lot. So here's the mod is still in beta, let me preface that. But we have a small shield generator, and a small and large work on small and large ship grids, apparently both. Except for the capacitors and the flux coil. Both of these are for a large ship grid, but we can use either of these. I'm thinking a large, just because I would want a lot of shields. So let's go ahead and place that. And now let's check and see if it actually says what it uses. Max required input is 4.5 megawatts. Required is 1.05. but it does not tell me how much it actually uses to store. And what I mean by that is it may have to have 4 megawatts as an input, but it doesn't tell me when is it fully recharged, like how much power is it actually going to draw before it's charged. So there's that. I also found there's a couple of cool things I did add into this version of the... I keep making a new save every time I load up the game. Or not every time I load it up, but every time I load up this world and start working on it. That way, if I screw something up, I can go back and fix it, basically. And we're going to get rid of this large frame stuff and throw these in here. So there's a new mod called Corner LCD Panels. These are really, really cool, but ultimately not exactly what I'm going for right here, right now. What I was actually talking about is we'll need, wherever this corner frame we're talking about sealing this room in, wherever we do that, somewhere in this room I want a panel that essentially is the power summary type stuff. And then we'll set this to... oh, me. I want to give this to Space Pirates. I'm just giving them an LCD panel on my ship. Okay, so show power summary would go something like that. Somewhere, I mean, that's always something we can move, just like this one out here is... it's fine, it's whatever. And we still need to set up the wraparound frame, door, window, whatever we want to put here. Because of how heavily built this ship is with all the heavy armor blocks, stuff like that, I don't really see this as something that we'll need to actually enter the room with a welder and repair, etc., because we've already got the stuff set up to be feeding uranium into the ship, or into the reactors, so we don't need to access their panels. These can all be controlled through operating systems, control panels, whatever. So pretty much we just need some kind of window, is what I'm thinking, is some kind of curved shape here to do windows. But we still have a lot of blank room back here to put LCD panels, or programming blocks, or timer blocks, or AI pods, anything that makes it look more circuitry based. And for that, I'm open to suggestions. I know there's a lot of builds that I've done on the Inspiration series that I'm going to have to go back and review, that stuff like Tumble TV and Tartarus, and I can't think of them offhand, but there's a couple others that do really detailed Corvette builds, like small ship grids. I think Dark Lord might be one of them. I can't remember. I know they usually do bigger ships. So I can't think of... but anyways, there's a couple different places I could use for inspiration to do some of this stuff. But I'm also open to suggestion as well. And we'll need to do some kind of curve here. I do like what we did before, which would ultimately change this one over here. It wouldn't affect this one too much, but it would change this design because we would have to merge the corner into this one. I hadn't thought about that, but how the blocks I deleted over here when we started the episode that had like the LCD panel and the corner lights, and you know, that was pretty cool. I tell you what, let's start over on this one, and we're gonna start that. Let's see if we can... anyways, before we actually get into that, I wanted to show these though. These are corner... it reminds me of the corner lights, but they're actually LCD panels that you can write stuff on, which is pretty freaking epic. And there's obviously a couple different ones, and these are more like a flat panel. Like this. So, what would these be used for, you might be thinking? Well, to be honest, I don't know too much that I would use these, mainly because of how I design stuff. I don't think I would need them to be... I would like them to be closer to the edge, like these upper ones, so I probably won't use those. But what would be cool is you could do something like this and do like a refinery room panel over here, or you could do something... Wait, did I grab the wrong one? No, I didn't. You could do something, and right as I say that, I find one where I could use the other panel. Good call. That's really funny. I don't think I'd use these. Oh wait, I just found a spot where I might want to use them. Something like this. And I don't know if they... I don't think they'll connect. No, they don't. Okay. What did I just delete? Crap. Okay, I'll fix that later. So you could do a panel like this where it says what room it is, or you could use them for something like this. Or in this one over here, you could do something like this. And you could have, just for... Obviously, most of you are probably already under the impression of how we could use these, but I just think it'd be fun to show it off. So you could do something like Reac room. And then, of course, you have to center it and do all that stuff. Come on, thank you. Let's just crank this up for a minute here. Let's do 5. That's too large. Maybe. Maybe not. Yeah, it's too big. Alright, let's try 2.5. I know this isn't really what this episode is about, but humor me. So something like that, and you could have, you know, a sign above the door as opposed to the side. So that's something I'd like you guys' feedback on, is how you would like to see stuff like that done. I think it was a really cool mod and a cool idea, but I do want a panel there for different reasons. Not necessarily right there, but in this room. Kind of like, let's go ahead and put one in here, because we've talked about doing that before. Now this one I'm not really sure where I would want it, because you could put one back here, but it's kind of... You'd be cutting off the bottom a little bit. You could put one right in front of these, I guess. Their dimensions would line up perfectly, actually, but that's kind of odd and a little weird. So more than likely, it would end up going, like, on this wall. Or, yeah, something like that, to where you could theoretically be working here and then turn around and look at this, you know, stuff like that. I don't like that one. I don't really like that one. So we're going to leave that there temporarily. Also, in the inspiration episode coming out tomorrow, I'm going to get rid of that too. The same build that has this kind of reactor design, but more detailed and more complicated, actually has some of the best interiors I have ever seen. And I don't mean that in terms of, like, spacing and stuff, but just little, like, how to build shelves in your crew quarters and making, like, end tables and, like, really random Minecraft level crap. It really focuses on the SNCN mod, because they use really, really tiny blocks. But yeah, I'm sure a lot of you will end up looking at that being, like, really happy with it, because it looks phenomenal, the way they did some of that stuff. So we're gonna need the ramps if we want the corner... Wait, slopes, not ramps, right? Slope? Yeah. Light armor, slope, base, smooth. I don't remember what we said the slope stuff was about. Or the smooth, not smooth. We're just gonna grab those and hope they're okay. Slope ladder. I have so many mods in here now, I forget what I have, and then I'm like, oh, that's weird. What is light armor slab slope? What is that? That's interesting. And let me grab the corner lights. Wow, I have a lot of corner blocks, apparently. Let's go with lights, then. Oh, wait, they're there. Never mind. I think it was this one we grabbed. What is this block? How is that different from the standard block? Oh, it's just much smaller. Okay. Weird. Interesting. Didn't even know that was a block. Oh, and hey, I've got the ramps already on this hotbar. Ah. Alright, so that's the normal one, and then this is the smooth. And it doesn't seem to break on its own, but it's breaking this block when I put it next to it, so let's not do that. Yeah, honestly, I don't see a difference, so we're just not going to do that one. So, we need a corner here. We're going to work on the bottom first, and then I think we'll also need one like this to bring the shape around. I'm not so much focused on the internal over here as much as this outer shape. Though, actually, it would probably make more sense if it's like this, wouldn't it? Maybe not. Because for this to work, how do we need this? We need this to actually be squared blocks, not coming off of an angle. So, we have a couple different options. We could let this just run into a square. I'm not a big fan of that. We can do like this and then do a square. But then if we came off of it like this, how do we resolve that corner? So I'm not a big fan of that. And really, we could be perfectly fine using this block to make our corners. Oh, that's right. Someone else also suggested to me using rounded blocks that I completely forgot even existed. What hotbar was I working on? Oh, this one. Here we go. So let's put rounded ones in here, because I don't know if those will help me or not. Round armor slope, rounded armor slope. I'm confused. We'll just grab them anyway. I want to try and work with this one a bit more, but give me just a second because we're running out of time. Okay, so here's kind of what I have so far. I didn't end up being able to connect it over here very well, so that's something we'll have to work with, or I'd like feedback on this before we even push forward with it. It's a little different than what I originally saw on, I believe it was the Soul ship that I made such a big deal about, where I first saw this kind of corner with the corner lights type system. There's a couple of things I don't like about this. One, there may be glass that exists that will match with the ramp bases, but I didn't see them, at least not at first glance. So that's a little irritating to me that the corners don't really line up with the rest of it, but it's not a big deal because technically it's all kind of sealed, so it's not as big of a deal. The other thing is the LCD panels and the buttons I use to make them flush with the glass are slopes, so it means that there's two giant blocks sitting there, unless, again, I find some other kind of mod that is just the thin space without the block. So that's something that I'd like everyone's feedback on, but overall, I kind of like that. I mean, it kind of looks pretty cool. We could always put these down one, but I thought the LCD panel would be a little hard to read down that low. So I was trying to keep it like head level-ish. And we can always put like two here and two here, you know, stuff like that. I don't mind. I also thought it would be interesting if we could find a way to maybe bring this out more, like, you know, one or two blocks out. It's not quite as visually appealing to the reactors if it was further away, but it would allow us to kind of curve it around and bring it into this area, and then we could actually have the battery readout LCD panels right here on the actual like if you had a block here, or a column, rather, you could have the LCD panels be one of these, and they would basically correspond to the battery that goes there. So that would be an interesting idea, and then this would just be the general summary of all power kind of thing. One last thing before I go. It was actually mentioned to me to make this upstairs section, which I mentioned before being larger than I expected it to be, somebody mentioned turning this into the living quarters. I'm both excited and mixed about this. This would be really cool, however, because we're only like one block from the hull, we can't really change how the ceiling looks and stuff, so it would be very difficult to do anything, you know, back in here, because this gets too short, basically. Like, you'd have to crouch to get under this section right here. Ooh, camera angle screw up. So there's that. But I have thought about making this a backup shield generator, so if like that one got hit, or vice versa, if this one up here gets hit, you'd have shields down there, stuff like that. It was also suggested to basically construct the bubble type things up here, and within them put the shield generator, so it would legitimately be like a Star Destroyer, which is not a bad idea either. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about all that stuff, and I think we're going to wrap things up for this episode because we're getting kind of carried away with our time. In the meantime, I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, and I will see you all next time. Peace!